Good afternoon everyone, seeing again with the part 2 of the CO2 setup, the injected CO2 setup. Well, I'll just quickly run through what I've done. So I don't know if you can see that down there, excuse me if I don't think you really can you? See if I can shed some light on it. There we go. So that's the regulator in the bottle. All set up there and running. I'm running around about 35 to 40 psi. Yeah, so that's that. Basically, you know, when I set it up, I did have a few leaks. My mistake was probably setting it up on the weekend and not having a day or so to get things adjusted. So I would recommend really taking your time, obviously. Testing for leaks multiple times. So once it's set up and you've got it positioned, obviously really check again, because I lost about 400 or 500 psi within a day or so, which meant me paying another £8 for another SodaStream bottle. A couple of other things were shortening the tube. I did find when trying to dial in the bubbles per second, because of the length of the tube, it was sort of taking a bit of time for it to respond, and it was just getting really frustrating and annoying to get the bubbles per second right. The other thing I would probably say, when you're setting it up, obviously if you've got time to do it in the week, because when you fire it up, obviously you want to make sure that your timers all come on correctly, so your CO2 comes on a little bit earlier, and which is one thing I've learned, is putting the CO2 on a bit earlier in the day before the lights come on, so your plants have got the CO2 ready there, so they're just hitting the ground running and starting growing. The other things I was probably going to mention, which one thing that Dustin from Dustin's Dirt Tanks, you should go and check out his YouTube channel, because he knows everything it is about growing plants in your tank. If you want to set up a dirt tank, he's got so many videos on there, and his videos are brilliant. I've watched a lot of those. You know, it's like when I go back from the first part, going back to doing the research and things like that. You should really research this before you start jumping in and going for the injected CO2. One other thing that he did mention, which I do test for, is my KH carbon hardness and the GH, the general hardness. Obviously check that, and I would probably check that once you've set it up, check it at least twice a week, just to make sure that you're not dropping that, because obviously you drop that, you drop your pH, your fish are going to die. I mean, mine seem quite happy at the moment. I mean, I know I've got my scissor tails hanging around the top there, but I think it's because I'm in front of the tank and they they think they're going to be fed. But scissor tails generally do hang around the top anyway, because that's where they sort of live naturally. And I've obviously been keeping a close eye on my my red flash barbs. They seem to be pretty happy. My angel seems happy. In regards to the plants, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what these plants are. I mean, if anyone can leave me a comment in there. I bought these in a massive load of plants years ago. I think they're crepes, but I'm not 100% sure. They look like them. Unfortunately, I haven't got the tag, but I wish I'd have taken a photo of them before and after, but I didn't really get a chance, and I kept forgetting. But these have just really started to grow now. I don't know if you can see, but down here the roots have really started to get into the substrate. Along here you can see some nice green shoots. I don't know what colour it's coming out on the camera. To me it's coming out sort of like an off green colour. I have bought some other plants from CO2 ART. Obviously that's where I bought my kit, if you haven't watched the previous part one. And yeah, again, they're really helpful. The kit is amazing, well packed, like I say, works. The guys there are really helpful. And you know, I did have a bit of an algae outbreak, I must admit, but they didn't last very long, and I think that's because I had the leak and I had everything all apart again. And excuse for all the bits floating around, I haven't had a scoop up around my tank recently. But you know, that's my advice is to really do check for leaks, so you don't have to have your CO2 off very long, because once you've got that CO2 running, you take that CO2 off for any length of time and you'll look back in your tank, and in a few hours it will start going milky, and that means you've got you've got an algae outbreak. And obviously if you do get that, then my advice is to do a water change as soon as possible, because that will just start upsetting the balance again. You know, maybe your pH will drop, I don't know, but all I did was a bit of a water change, which helped. The other thing I was looking at getting was just a oh god, I've forgotten the name of it now. Something to get the water flowing around a tank, but I don't think I'm going to need that now, because what I was concerned about when I was doing sort of like my setup on it was my drop checker was staying blue up the corner there. But when I moved it down to the end of the tank that the diffuser's on at the back there, it seemed to turn green. But what I wasn't doing was leaving it long enough, because it did take a few hours, or it could just be that generally the CO2, I mean, it's been running for a couple of weeks now, the CO2 has actually got into the tank and the plants have started to absorb it, or you know, it's just genuinely the CO2's got into the water, and you know, it's now turned green. But I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it is green. Before it was bright blue, and that's one thing I will say about the drop checker. It's not easy to read. I mean, there are other drop checkers out there that have got like a little white bar inside them, which shows up, and it allows you to detect it more easily. But you know, the drop checker is good enough. I mean, if you do look through it, I tend to sort of look up from the back through it, and you can see it is green. So you know, I'm running about 2 bubbles per second at the moment. That seems to be quite comfortable. I might reduce it slowly, but everything seems to be happy in there. My levels are good. Yeah, and the plants, like I say, they seem to be growing. So if you've got any other questions, I mean, I'm happy to answer them if I can. But like I say, I would go across to CO2 Art's site and have a look. Obviously, there are a couple of other people, I can't remember to mention the names of them, but I will put links in the bottom of the YouTube video. I mean, again, like I say, one up to Dustin's dirt tanks, because he's helped me quite a lot. He knows his stuff. He's been keeping plants in dirt tanks and all sorts of tanks. He's got hundreds of them. He knows his stuff, so do take what he says on board. You know, and just genuinely look around the fish keeping forums, because everybody helps each other out. Obviously I try and put back into the community as much as I can. I mean, I've been keeping tanks for 13-14 years now. So yeah, I'll just sort of wrap up with you know, the last thing that I may well get. I don't know if you can see, I am getting a little bit of you can see on the top there, it's not really coming through clear on the camera, but I am getting a little bit of sort of gunk on the surface of the water. But again, people do say the best thing to buy for that is a surface skimmer. Again, CO2 Art do sell those, so it's worth looking at those, but obviously I would check to make sure it's going to fit, because I've got an external filter. whether it's going to fit that okay, and the diameter of your pipe, etc. Obviously there are others on the market. I think Aqua One do one, Fluval do one. They're pretty much the same, do the same job. They might have slightly better attachments for your filter. Probably I would say if you've got a Fluval filter, maybe it's best to go for a Fluval surface skimmer. And yeah, I'm just pretty damn happy with how it's all going. Like I say, you can see a little bit of algae on the bearded algae on the various ornaments that are in there, but that has always been there. It does actually look a little bit greener, but maybe I'll just try and give that a scrape off if it starts to get out of control. But all in all, everything's all going well. Obviously, any other questions, do get in touch. Thanks very much.